The heiress paid a black janitor to be her date as a joke, but his voice left the billionaires speechless. Willa Ashton stood in the marble lobby of Ashton Tower in downtown Boston, arguing with her father Preston about the annual Founders Gala. At 26, she was heir to a pharmaceutical fortune worth $3.2 billion, and she'd spent her entire life rebelling against the expectations that came with it. "You will attend," Preston said firmly, "and you will bring an appropriate date. Not some artist from Brooklyn or musician you picked up at a bar. Someone from our world, Willa. Your world is insufferable. It's the world that pays for your lifestyle. Act accordingly." Her cousin Octavia Tremaine overheard the exchange and approached with a malicious smile. Octavia was everything Willa was supposed to be. Perfectly groomed, engaged to old money, content to be decorative. The two had competed since childhood, and Octavia always played to win. Having trouble finding a suitable date, Willa? I'm not surprised. Men in our circle know your reputation, which is difficult, contrary. Someone who thinks she's better than everyone else despite contributing nothing to society. The insult stung because it held truth. Willa had never worked, never built anything, just spent money she hadn't earned while judging everyone around her. But admitting that would give Octavia satisfaction. I could bring anyone to that gala, and he'd be more interesting than your boring fiancé Ellis. Anyone? Octavia's eyes gleamed. Prove it. I dare you to bring the most inappropriate date imaginable. Someone so outside our world that Father and Uncle Preston will be mortified. If you can make it through the evening without being humiliated, I'll donate $50,000 to any charity you choose. If you fail, you have to publicly apologize for being a disappointment to the Ashton name. Deal. And Octavia, prepare to write that check. Willa stormed through the building, her heels clicking on marble, her mind racing. She needed someone inappropriate enough to shock, but confident enough to hold his own. Someone who would... She turned a corner and nearly collided with a man pushing a cleaning cart. "Excuse me, miss," he said, stepping aside quickly. Willa looked up and froze. The janitor was black, tall, with intelligent eyes, and a bearing that seemed incongruous with his uniform. Something about him suggested he was more than his job indicated. An idea formed. Petty, cruel, exactly the kind of thing she'd later regret. "What's your name?" "Sterling. Sterling Wade." "Sterling, how would you like to make $5,000 for one evening's work?" His expression became guarded. "Doing what?" "Being my date to a gala. Friday night. Formal wear, fancy party. You stand beside me and look presentable. That's it. $5,000 for maybe 6 hours of your time. Why me?" "Because you're here and I'm desperate. Look, I'm in a stupid competition with my cousin. I need a date who will make my family uncomfortable. You'd be perfect." She realized how insulting that sounded, only after the words left her mouth. Sterling's jaw tightened. "So, I'm a prop, a way to shock your rich relatives by bringing a black janitor to their fancy party. I'm offering you $5,000 for wearing a tuxedo and eating free food. If you're too proud to take easy money, fine. But I'm guessing janitors don't make that much in a month." It was cruel. She knew it even as she said it. But Willa had spent her life watching wealthy people treat service workers as invisible, and she'd absorbed their casual cruelty without realizing it. Sterling should have walked away, should have told this entitled heiress exactly where she could put her offer. Instead, he saw opportunity. $10,000, and you pay for the tuxedo. Deal. Be here Friday at 6 p.m. And Sterling, try to look like you belong. I'll do my best to meet your impossibly high standards, Miss Ashton. The sarcasm was subtle but cutting. Willa felt it land but chose to ignore it. She had her inappropriate date. Octavia was going to lose this bet spectacularly. What Willa didn't know was that Sterling Wade was far more than he appeared. And Friday night, he would teach everyone in that ballroom, especially her, a lesson about assumptions. Hello, my Stop Racism family. Thank you for tuning in today. Before we dive deeper into this beautiful love story, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments below. Also, I'd love to know your thoughts. What did you think of the story so far? Do you believe love can truly conquer prejudice? Let us know in the comments. We love reading them. And trust me, your words motivate us to keep making these videos. Let's make this video reach at least 50 comments. Your support means the world to us, and it drives us to create even more meaningful content for you. So don't forget to comment, share, and keep spreading love. Sterling Wade went home to his small apartment in Roxbury that evening, took off his janitor's uniform, and made a phone call. Rhett, it's me. Remember when you said if I ever needed a favor, you owed me? I'm collecting. Rhett Kingsley, Sterling's friend from Yale, laughed. This should be good. What do you need? Context first. I'm working undercover as a janitor at Ashton Tower for a story I'm writing. Still can't believe you're doing investigative journalism dressed as a janitor. Your editor is insane. My editor is brilliant. I've witnessed more corporate corruption in 3 months than most journalists uncover in years. Anyway, Preston Ashton's daughter just offered me $10,000 to be her date to their founder's gala. She thinks I'm actually a janitor and wants to shock her family by bringing someone inappropriate. That's appalling. It's an opportunity. I need formal wear, background on everyone who'll be there, and your help making sure this doesn't blow my cover. Can you do it? Sterling, what's the play here? Expose her cruelty? Humiliate her publicly? I don't know yet. Maybe just show her that assumptions based on appearance are dangerous. That the janitor she's treating as a prop might have more depth than anyone in that ballroom. Rhett sighed. You're going to fall for her, aren't you? Rich girl with no clue. You'll see past her privilege to something redeemable, and it'll be a disaster. I'm not falling for anyone. I'm accepting payment for an evening's work while gathering material for my expose on corporate America's treatment of workers. This is journalism. Sure it is. I'll have a tuxedo sent over. And Sterling? Don't do anything stupid. Friday arrived. Sterling dressed in the custom tuxedo Rhett had provided, perfectly tailored, expensive, transforming him from janitor to someone who could move easily among billionaires. He arrived at Ashton Tower precisely at 6 p.m. Willa was waiting in the lobby, wearing a stunning silver gown that probably cost more than most people's cars. She looked him up and down, surprise flickering across her face. You clean up well. Thank you. You look lovely too. Right. Well, ground rules. You're my date, but don't get ideas. We go in, you stand beside me, you're polite but quiet. Let me do the talking. Can you manage that? I'll try my best to be seen and not heard, Miss Ashton. Willa. Call me Willa. Miss Ashton makes me sound like my grandmother. In the limousine, Willa briefed him on her family. My father, Preston, is CEO of Ashton Pharmaceuticals. My mother, Vivienne, is his trophy wife. Uncle Gregory runs the foundation. Cousin Octavia is the one who bet me. Her fiancé Ellis is boring banking money. There will be at least 50 other billionaires and their offspring. Don't embarrass me. Wouldn't dream of it. At the Fairmont Hotel ballroom, they made an entrance. Heads turned immediately. The Ashton heiress with a black man in tow. The whispers started before they'd crossed the threshold. Who is that? Did Willa bring a date? Is he black? Octavia approached, her smile predatory. Well, Willa actually brought someone. And who might you be? Sterling Wade. Pleasure to meet you. And what do you do, Sterling? Before he could answer, Willa interjected. He works in building management. Very hands-on work. Technically true. Sterling worked in a building. He managed to clean it. The implication that he was some kind of property manager rather than a janitor was Willa's spin. How interesting, Octavia purred. I do hope you'll be comfortable here. These events can be so exclusive. I'm sure I'll manage. Preston Ashton appeared, his expression carefully neutral as he assessed Sterling. And you are? Sterling Wade, sir. Thank you for having me this evening. Willa, might I speak with you privately? No, Dad. Sterling is my guest. Whatever you want to say, you can say in front of him. Preston's jaw tightened. Fine. Try not to cause a scene. As Preston walked away, Willa grabbed Sterling's arm. See? They're already uncomfortable. This is perfect. But Sterling wasn't focused on Preston's discomfort. He was watching the room, the way other guests stared, the assumptions forming behind polite smiles, the casual racism wrapped in class superiority. Willa, can I ask you something? What? Why are you doing this? Really? Is humiliating your family worth using me as a prop? I'm not using you. I'm paying you $10,000. Money doesn't make exploitation acceptable. You hired me to shock your family by bringing a black janitor to their party. That's not a date. That's a performance. And I'm the punchline. Willa's face flushed. If you're uncomfortable, you can leave. No, I took the job. I'll see it through. But Willa, after tonight, I hope you think about what this says about you. Before she could respond, the gala's host called everyone to attention. The evening's program was beginning. The dinner was excruciating. Willa's table included Octavia and Ellis, family friends the Carringtons, and elderly oil money Heiress and Webb. Sterling sat beside Willa, enduring barely concealed hostility wrapped in polite conversation. "So, Sterling, where did you attend university?" Lennox Carrington asked, her tone suggesting she assumed he hadn't. "Yale, class of 2019. The table went silent. Octavia recovered first. "Yale? How unexpected. What did you study?" "Journalism and African American Studies. I also completed graduate work at Columbia's School of Journalism." "And yet, you work in building management?" Ellis's skepticism was obvious. "I work where the stories are. Sometimes that's in boardrooms. Sometimes it's in maintenance closets." Preston, overhearing from the next table, turned sharply. "Stories? Are you a journalist?" "I am, though currently on an extended research project that requires a different kind of access." The implications hung heavy. Several guests shifted uncomfortably, clearly wondering if they'd been observed, if their casual cruelty to staff had been documented. Willa grabbed Sterling's arm. "You're a journalist? You didn't tell me that. You didn't ask. You saw a janitor and made assumptions. Everyone here did." Harrison Webb, patriarch of old money, actually laughed. "The boy's got a point. We've all been walking around for months, treating him like furniture. And he's been what? Taking notes? Something like that. Ballsy. I respect it. Son, what story are you chasing? How corporate America treats its lowest paid workers. The invisible people who clean your offices, serve your food, maintain your buildings. You'd be shocked what people say and do when they think no one important is watching." Preston stood abruptly. "This is inappropriate dinner conversation." "Is it?" Sterling's voice cut through the room, carrying authority that had nothing to do with volume. "Because I think it's entirely appropriate. You're all here celebrating your wealth, your success, your corporate empires. But those empires are built on the labor of people you don't see, people you treat as invisible. Your daughter hired me as a date because she thought bringing a janitor to your gala would embarrass you. And it is embarrassing, but not for the reason she thinks." The ballroom had gone completely silent. Every guest was watching now. Sterling stood, and suddenly he commanded the room in a way none of them had expected. "I've spent 3 months working in Ashton Tower. I've cleaned boardrooms where executives discussed cutting health benefits to save costs. I've emptied trash cans full of documents about price-fixing pharmaceuticals that people die without. I've watched you all walk past workers without acknowledgement, without basic human courtesy, as if we don't exist." "Young man, this is neither the time nor place," Gregory Ashton started. "When is the right time? When is it appropriate to discuss the fact that Ashton Pharmaceuticals pays its cleaning staff minimum wage while its executives make millions? When do we talk about the fact that the same company that claims it can't afford to lower drug prices just spent $2 million on this gala?" Preston's face reddened. "Security, don't." It was Willa standing now, her voice shaking. "Don't throw him out, Dad. Let him speak." Sterling turned to her, surprised. She met his eyes, something shifting in her expression. "You all want to know who Sterling Wade really is?" Willa said, her voice stronger now. "He's someone I hired as a joke, to win a bet with my cousin, to shock you by bringing someone inappropriate to your exclusive party. I saw a black janitor and thought he'd be the perfect prop to embarrass my family. That's who I am. That's what I did." "Willa, shut up," Octavia hissed. "No, because Sterling's right. This is embarrassing. Not him, me, all of us. We treat people as invisible unless they're wealthy or useful. We walk through life not seeing anyone below our tax bracket, and when someone finally calls us on it, our first instinct is to silence them." Sterling looked at Willa with new eyes. This wasn't the spoiled heiress who'd hired him. This was someone having a moment of genuine self-awareness. "I'm sorry," Willa said, turning to Sterling. "You were right. I was using you. I didn't see you as a person, just as a way to win a stupid bet. That's inexcusable." The ballroom remained silent. Then, unexpectedly, someone began to clap. Harrison Webb stood, applauding. "Well said, both of you. Preston, your daughter just showed more integrity than anyone else in this room. And son," he looked at Sterling, "you've got guts. I like that. What publication are you writing for?" "Independently. I'm funding the research myself." "Not anymore. Come see me Monday. Webb Media will back your story. Full editorial independence. Full support. If you've got dirt on these vultures, I want it published." "Mr. Webb, you can't seriously," Preston protested. "I can, and I am. Preston, I've known you 30 years. I've watched you build an empire on the backs of underpaid workers while claiming you can't afford to lower drug prices. Someone should tell that story. Might as well be this young man. The gala ended in chaos. Half the guests left immediately, outraged by Sterling's accusations. The other half surrounded him, some angry, others curious, a few secretly pleased to see their rivals exposed. Willa stood apart from her family, who were furious with her for defending Sterling. Octavia approached, her perfect facade cracking. You've humiliated us all. Father and Uncle Preston will never forgive this. Good. Maybe it's time someone in this family prioritized honesty over reputation. After the crowd dispersed, Sterling and Willa stood alone on the hotel's terrace, the Boston skyline glittering before them. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever done, Willa said quietly. Brave. Definitely brave. My family will disown me. My trust fund, my position in the company, all gone because I defended a man I hired as a joke. Is that regret I'm hearing? No, just recognition of consequences. She turned to face him. Sterling, I need you to understand something. I'm not a good person. I've spent 26 years being privileged and oblivious. I've treated people terribly because I never had to face consequences. Tonight, you held up a mirror, and I didn't like what I saw. So change. You're young, wealthy, educated. Use those advantages for something beyond shocking your family. That's easy for you to say. You have purpose, direction. What do I have? A trust fund I didn't earn, and a last name that means nothing without family approval. You have a choice. That's more than most people get. They stood in silence, and Sterling felt something shift. He'd come tonight to expose Willa's cruelty, to teach her a lesson about assumptions. Instead, she'd surprised him. Her public apology, her willingness to face consequences. It spoke to something redeemable beneath the privilege. The $10,000, Willa said suddenly. I'm still paying you. You earned it. I don't want your money. Why not? Because this stopped being about money the moment you stood up for me. You could have stayed silent, let security throw me out, protected your family's reputation. Instead, you told the truth even though it cost you. That's worth more than $10,000. So what now? You write your expose. I get disowned. We never see each other again. Is that what you want? No. Willa's voice was small, which is insane because we barely know each other. But Sterling, tonight, you made me see myself clearly for the first time in my life. That's significant. You want to know what I saw tonight? Beyond. The privilege and assumptions? What? Someone capable of growth. Someone brave enough to admit fault publicly. Someone who might actually use her advantages to make things better instead of just enjoying them. That's rare, Willa. That's precious. Or maybe you just want access to my family's secrets for your story. Sterling smiled. Well, that too. But primarily, I think you're more interesting than you realize. Interesting enough to see again. Definitely. But Willa, if we do this, if we try to build something beyond tonight's disaster, you need to understand what you're signing up for. Dating me means facing the same judgment you inflicted tonight. People will assume you're rebelling, that I'm using you, every racist and classist stereotype in existence. Can you handle that? I don't know, but I'd like to find out. Sterling, would you have coffee with me? Tomorrow? No families, no galas, no performances. Just two people talking. I'd like that. They exchanged numbers, and as Sterling left, he felt something unexpected. Hope, not just for his story, but for Willa, for the possibility that people could change. His phone buzzed. A text from Rhett. Saw videos, you're viral. Also, you're definitely falling for her. I knew it. Sterling didn't respond, because Rhett was right, and that was terrifying. The next morning, Sterling woke to find his phone exploded with notifications. Videos from the gala had gone viral. His speech, Willa's apology, the entire confrontation. Ashton Gala expose was trending. His editor, Greer Donovan, called immediately. Please tell me you recorded everything. I recorded everything. Sterling, this is huge. Web Media just called. They're serious about funding a full investigation, but we need to move fast before Ashton's legal team buries everything. Give me a week. I have 3 months of documentation, witness testimonies from other workers, financial records. This is bigger than one gala speech. Fine, but Sterling, be careful. You just made some powerful enemies. And that girl, Willa Ashton, are you sure about her? Because from the videos, it looks like you're getting personally involved. I'm maintaining objectivity. Liar. You have coffee with her today at 2 p.m.? I saw it on her Instagram story. She posted about making amends with the journalist who called out her family. This is a terrible idea. Noted. Talk later. At 2 p.m., Sterling arrived at a small cafe in Cambridge, neutral territory, away from Willa's world. She was already there, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, no makeup. She looked younger, vulnerable. "Hi, you came." I said I would. I wasn't sure. After last night, my family's been calling nonstop. My father threatened to cut me off if I see you again. Octavia called me a traitor. My mother just cried. And yet, you posted about this coffee date on social media. I did, because I meant what I said last night. I'm done hiding or pretending. If I'm being disowned anyway, might as well be honest about why. They ordered coffee, and the conversation started awkwardly. Two people from different worlds trying to find common ground beyond last night's drama. "Tell me about your story," Willa said. "The real story, not the public version. Why go undercover as a janitor?" Because journalism isn't just about powerful sources and leaked documents. It's about lived experience. I wanted to understand what it's actually like to be invisible in corporate America, to see how people treat workers when they think no one's watching. And what did you learn? That most people aren't deliberately cruel. They're just so absorbed in their own world that other people become scenery. Your father, for example, I don't think he's evil. I think he's so focused on quarterly profits and shareholder value that he's completely disconnected from the human cost of his decisions. That's generous. Most of your speech suggested he's a villain. People are complicated. Your father also funds scholarships, donates to hospitals, volunteers time to mentor young executives. But he also built a company that profits from human suffering while treating his lowest paid workers as disposable. Both things are true. And me? What did you learn about me last night? Sterling considered his words carefully. That you're capable of surprising yourself. You hired me as a joke, as a prop to win a bet. That was cruel and thoughtless. But when confronted with your own behavior, you didn't deflect or make excuses. You admitted fault publicly. That takes courage, or stupidity. Sometimes they look the same. Willa, why did you really defend me last night? You could have walked away, let security handle it, protected your family, because you were right about everything. About how we treat people, about my motivations for hiring you, about the hypocrisy of that entire gala. And I realized that if I stayed silent, I was complicit. I've been complicit my whole life. Last night was the first time I chose differently. What happens now? With your family? I don't know. My father gave me an ultimatum. Apologize publicly for attacking the family, cut ties with you, and commit to taking a position at Ashton Pharmaceuticals. Or I'm out. No trust fund, no company position, no family support. That's brutal. It's what I expected. The Ashtons don't tolerate dissent. But Sterling, I need to know something. Is this real? You wanting to see me again? Or am I just part of your story now? Honestly, I'm not sure. I came to coffee today telling myself it was research. But Willa, I like you. The real you, beneath the privilege. The woman brave enough to apologize publicly. That person is interesting. I want to know her better. Even though I'm everything you're exposing in your story, wealth, privilege, oblivious entitlement, you were those things, past tense. Question is who you're becoming now. That's the interesting part. Willa's eyes filled with tears. I don't know who I am without my family's money and name. I've never worked, never struggled, never had to figure anything out on my own. If I lose my trust fund, I'm nobody. You're someone who stood up for what's right despite the cost. That's not nobody. That's someone with character. Everything else can be learned. Will you help me? I know that's asking a lot, but Sterling, I don't know how to be a person who works, who has purpose beyond spending money. You do. Will you teach me? It was a strange request from a woman he'd met yesterday. But Sterling heard the genuine desperation beneath it. Willa was facing an identity crisis. Everything she'd been was built on family money and approval. Without those things, she didn't know how to exist. Yes, but Willa, this is going to be hard. Learning to support yourself, to find purpose, to navigate the world without wealth protecting you. It's not romantic. It's exhausting and frustrating and humbling. I know, but it's better than being the person I was. Sterling, I want to change. Help me change. Okay, then here's step one. You need a job. 2 weeks after the viral gala, Willa Ashton was working as a barista at a Boston coffee shop, and she'd never been so exhausted or so fulfilled. True to his ultimatum, Preston had cut her off completely. No trust fund, no credit cards, no family support. Willa moved into a tiny studio apartment in Somerville, her first time living independently. and took the first job that would hire her. Sterling helped her navigate the transition. He taught her budgeting basics, helped her open a checking account, explained how subway passes and grocery shopping worked. Things she'd never needed to know suddenly became survival skills. "I had no idea bread cost this much," she said during their first grocery trip together. "That's organic artisan bread from Whole Foods. This," Sterling grabbed a different loaf, "is regular bread. Same taste, $4 less. How do you know which bills to pay first? Rent, utilities, food. Everything else is negotiable." "Willa, did your family seriously never teach you any of this?" "Why would they? We had people to handle it. I've literally never paid a bill in my life." Sterling's investigative piece published 3 weeks after the gala. It was devastating. Meticulously documented evidence of Ashton Pharmaceuticals' exploitation of workers, price gouging on essential medications, and Preston's personal knowledge of both. The fallout was immediate. Federal investigations opened. Stock prices plummeted. Preston was forced to testify before Congress, and Willa, the daughter who'd publicly sided against her family, became a pariah in Boston's elite circles. But she also became something else, a symbol. Her transformation from oblivious heiress to working-class barista inspired others to examine their own privilege. She started a blog about unlearning entitlement, which went unexpectedly viral. "People relate to you," Sterling's friend Quinn Mercer told her over dinner one night. Quinn was a social media strategist who'd offered to help Willa build a platform. "Not because you're perfect, but because you're honest about how hard this is. Privilege unlearning isn't sexy or easy. You're showing the real struggle. I just wrote about how I cried yesterday because I couldn't afford to replace my broken phone." Exactly. Vulnerability is powerful. You're humanizing wealth in a way that helps people understand systemic inequality. Sterling watched Willa navigate her new life with a mixture of pride and concern. She was trying so hard, waking at 5 a.m. for opening shifts, studying for her GED. She'd never finished college. Learning to cook instead of ordering takeout. But she was also struggling. "I'm so tired," she admitted one evening after a particularly brutal shift. "My feet hurt. My back hurts. A customer yelled at me because I made his latte wrong. I cried in the bathroom. Sterling, I don't know if I can do this." "You can. You're just not used to it yet. Willa, you've been doing this for a month. Most people who work these jobs have been doing it for years. Give yourself time to adjust." "But what if I can't? What if I'm too soft, too privileged, too?" "You're not. You're learning. That's the whole point. Nobody expects you to be perfect. They just expect you to try." Her relationship with her family remained fractured. Preston refused all contact. Her mother, Vivian, called occasionally, begging Willa to apologize and come home. Only her younger brother, Jet, reached out with genuine support. "I'm proud of you," Jet told her during a secret meeting at a park. He was 19, still in college, still financially dependent on Preston. "What you did took guts. Dad's furious, but Willa, you were right. About everything. How's he handling the investigation?" "Badly. He might face criminal charges. The company's in chaos. Uncle Gregory's trying to do damage control, but it's not working. You've cost the family millions." "Good. Maybe they'll think twice before exploiting people." "I want to help you," Jet said suddenly. "Financially, I mean. I have access to my trust fund." "No, Jet, I appreciate it, but I need to do this myself. Taking money defeats the whole point." "The point being what? Suffering to prove a point?" "The point being learning to live like most people live, without safety nets, without family wealth protecting me from consequences. I've spent 26 years insulated from reality. I'm not going back." As winter set in, Willa's life stabilized. She got promoted to shift supervisor at the coffee shop. Her blog attracted advertising, providing modest additional income. She enrolled in community college classes, and most significantly, her relationship with Sterling deepened beyond teacher-student into something more. "When did this happen?" she asked one evening, after they'd kissed goodnight, the third time that week. "Probably the day you cried about bread prices. You were so genuinely distressed about spending $8 on bread, and I realized you were committed to this, that you weren't performing struggle for social media. You were actually living it. I still feel like I'm pretending sometimes, like I'm playing at being working class. You're not playing. You're living it. Willa, you're making $15 an hour and paying your own rent. That's not performance. That's reality. Do you ever resent me? For having had all those advantages? Sometimes. But I also see you trying to unlearn entitlement. That counts for something. 6 months after the gala, Preston Ashton requested a meeting with Willa. She almost declined. Why reopen wounds? But Sterling encouraged her to go. You need closure, and he's your father. Hear him out. They met at a neutral location, a cafe far from Boston society. Preston looked older, worn down by legal troubles and public scandal. He stood when Willa arrived, awkward and uncertain. Thank you for coming. I almost didn't. What do you want, Dad? To apologize and to understand. Willa, you've spent 6 months living like most Americans. Yes, and I need to understand why. You had everything. Why throw it away? Because everything was built on exploitation. Because I was miserable pretending my life mattered. Because that everything came at the cost of people like Sterling working multiple jobs and still struggling. Dad, I wasn't happy. I was just expensive. Preston was quiet for a long moment. The federal investigation, they've offered me a deal. Testify against others in the industry who engaged in price fixing, implement real reforms at Ashton Pharmaceuticals, and I'll avoid prison. But it means admitting everything. Everything Sterling exposed, everything you've been saying, it was all true. It was always true. You just didn't want to see it. I saw profits, growth, shareholder value. I convinced myself that was enough, that I was building something important. But Willa, I was wrong. Your journalist boyfriend was right. He's not my... Willa stopped. Actually, yeah, he is. Sterling's my boyfriend. We're together. A black investigative journalist who destroyed our family's reputation. How do you think that makes me feel? Uncomfortable. Good. Maybe discomfort will lead to growth. Dad, Sterling didn't destroy anything. He exposed what was already rotten. You built that rot. He just made it visible. Preston's face twisted with emotion. Anger, shame, grief. You're right. I know you're right. But Willa, knowing it and accepting it are different things. I'm 63 years old. Everything I built is crumbling. My daughter won't speak to me. I might still face prison. How do I come back from this? The same way I did. You acknowledge the harm, you commit to change, and you do better going forward. It's not complicated, just hard. Will you come back to the company? Help me rebuild it ethically? You and Sterling. You could consult, implement the reforms. No, Dad, I'm not coming back. I've built a life I'm proud of. I work, I pay my bills, I contribute to my community. I'm finally doing something that matters. Why would I give that up? Because you're my daughter. Because family is what you make it. The Ashtons haven't been family to me since the gala. You disowned me, remember? I've built a new family. Sterling, his friends, my co-workers, my community. They support me without conditions. That's more valuable than any trust fund. Preston looked devastated. So that's it? You're done with us? I'm done pretending. If you want a relationship, Dad, it'll be on my terms. You accept Sterling. You respect my choices. You genuinely commit to change. Otherwise, we have nothing to talk about. And if I can't accept him, if I think he's using you, manipulating you, then you don't know me at all. Sterling has asked nothing from me except authenticity. He's supported my growth without judgment. He loves me for who I'm becoming, not what I can provide. That's real, Dad. Everything else was performance. After Preston left, Willa sat alone, processing. The meeting had been harder than expected. Seeing her father broken, realizing the full cost of her choices, but she didn't regret them. Sterling called. How'd it go? Painful. He wants me to come back to the company, help rebuild? What did you say? No. I told him I've built a life I'm proud of, that I'm not giving it up, not even for family reconciliation. Are you okay? I don't know. Ask me tomorrow. Sterling, can I come over? I don't want to be alone tonight. Always. I'll order pizza. The cheap kind from the place on the corner. Obviously, we're not made of money. Willa laughed despite her tears. 6 months ago, she'd never have imagined finding comfort in cheap pizza and a small apartment. Now it felt like home. 1 year after the gala that changed everything, Willa and Sterling stood in a small office space they'd just leased in downtown Boston. It was modest, nothing like the luxury Willa had grown up with, but it was theirs. The Equity Project. Willa read from the sign Sterling had just hung. You really think we can do this? A non-profit investigating corporate exploitation and providing resources for workers? Absolutely. Willa, we have the skills, your insider knowledge of corporate culture plus my investigative background, and we have credibility. People trust us because we've both put skin in the game. The past year had transformed them both. Sterling's expose had won awards and led to real reform in the pharmaceutical industry. Willa's blog had evolved into a platform with hundreds of thousands of followers. Together, they'd become advocates for workers' rights and corporate accountability. "I never imagined this," Willa admitted. "When I hired you for that gala as a joke, I thought I was winning a stupid bet with Octavia. Instead, I lost my family and found a purpose. Do you regret it? Losing your family?" "Sometimes. But Sterling, I also found myself. The person I am now, working, contributing, building something meaningful. She's better than the heiress spending trust fund money on designer clothes. I like who I've become. I like who you've become too." They kissed in their empty office, surrounded by boxes of files and dreams of making a difference. Their relationship had weathered significant storms. The media scrutiny, a black journalist dating the white heiress he'd exposed, invited every racist and classist assumption. Some accused Sterling of using Willa. Others accused Willa of slumming or virtue signaling. They'd learned to ignore the noise and focus on their reality. Sterling's family had been skeptical initially. His mother, Arden Wade, finally met Willa 6 months into their relationship. "My son says you've changed," Arden said during an uncomfortable dinner. "That you're not the spoiled heiress anymore." "I'm trying not to be. I'm working, learning, attempting to understand how most people live. I know I'll never fully grasp what it's like to grow up without wealth, but I'm trying." "Why?" "You could have apologized to your daddy, gotten your money back, lived comfortably. Instead, you're working at a coffee shop and living in a studio apartment. For what? To prove a point? To be someone worth knowing." "Mrs. Wade, I was empty before. Pretty and wealthy, but empty. Sterling helped me see that. I'm not performing poverty or trying to prove anything. I'm just trying to be real." Arden studied her for a long moment. "You love my son?" "Yes, completely." "And you understand what loving a black man in America means? The judgment, the assumptions, the racism you'll face as a couple?" "I'm learning. It's been eye-opening and horrifying. But yes, I'm committed to navigating it. Sterling's worth it." Arden nodded slowly. "Okay then. Welcome to the family, Willa. But if you hurt my son, wealth won't protect you. Clear?" Crystal clear. Now, standing in their nonprofit's office, those challenges felt manageable. They had each other, their shared mission, and slowly rebuilding connections with family who'd come around. Even Octavia had reached out, tentatively. "I was wrong about you," she'd written. "Watching your journey this year, you've become someone admirable, someone real. I'm sorry for the bet, for pushing you into that situation. But I'm also grateful because it led you here." Preston remained complicated. He'd implemented reforms at Ashton Pharmaceuticals, avoided prison, and slowly rebuilt the company's reputation. But he and Willa maintained distance, polite but not close. "He'll come around," Sterling said when Willa expressed sadness about her father. "Or he won't." "But Willa, you can't control his growth. You can only control yours. I just wish he could see what we're building here. How we're trying to prevent other companies from exploiting workers the way his did. Maybe he does see it. Maybe it's uncomfortable for him. Change is hard, especially when your daughter becomes living proof of your failures." Jet visited often, proud of his sister's transformation. He'd started advocating within Ashton Pharmaceuticals for better worker treatment, using his position to push for change from inside. "You inspired me," he told Willa during one visit. "Watching you give up everything to stand up for what's right. That took courage. I want that courage. So I'm staying in the company and fighting to make it better. That's just as valid as leaving. Different path, same goal. Think Dad will ever really change? I don't know. But we can't wait for him. We have to build the world we want to see." The Equity Project launched 6 months later with funding from Heiress and Webb's Foundation and grassroots donations. Their first major investigation exposed wage theft in Boston's service industry. Their second provided legal support to workers organizing unions. "We're actually doing it," Willa said after their first-year anniversary. "Making a difference. You're making a difference. Willa, you could have stayed comfortable. Instead, you chose purpose over privilege. That matters. I had help. You showed me there was another way to live. I showed you the door. You walked through it. That was all you. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. We want to know what you think. 2 years after the gala, Sterling planned something that would bring their journey full circle. He contacted Octavia, surprisingly now an ally, with a request. "I need your help. I'm going to propose to Willa, and I want to do it at the Fairmont Ballroom." Same place as the gala. Will you help me arrange it? That's either incredibly romantic or incredibly risky. She might have traumatic memories of that place. Or she'll see it as reclaiming a space where something important happened. Octavia, that gala was the catalyst for everything. Willa became herself that night. I want to honor that. Okay, I'll help. But Sterling, if this goes wrong, I'm blaming you. The evening arrived. Sterling told Willa they were attending a fundraiser for the equity project. Not entirely a lie, as several donors would be present. She dressed beautifully, her style now a blend of her old elegance and new practicality. They entered the Fairmont ballroom, and Willa stopped. This is where everything changed, for both of us. The room was decorated simply but elegantly. Familiar faces filled the space. Sterling's family, Willa's brother Jet, their friends, supporters of their nonprofit. Even Preston was there, looking uncomfortable but present. What is this? Willa asked. A celebration of everything we've built, everything we've become. Sterling took her hand, leading her to the center of the room, the same spot where he'd given his speech 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I stood here and called out this room's privilege. I was angry, self-righteous, convinced I was better than everyone here. I wasn't wrong about the exploitation, but I was wrong to assume I knew everything about the people in this room. He turned to Willa. Especially you. I thought you were a spoiled heiress using me as a prop. You were, initially. But Willa, you were also someone capable of extraordinary change. Someone brave enough to face your own privilege and dismantle it piece by piece. Someone who gave up everything comfortable to become someone real. Willa's eyes filled with tears. Sterling, what are you doing? Asking you a question. He knelt, pulling out a ring. Modest by her former standards, precious by their current ones. Willa Ashton, you've taught me that people can change, that privilege can be unlearned, that love can transcend class and race and every barrier society puts up. Will you marry me? Will you keep building this life with me? Will you be my partner in everything? Yes. Willa sobbed. God, yes. Sterling, yes. The room erupted in applause. Even Preston was crying, witnessing his daughter's joy and a life he'd once demanded she abandon. After the celebration, Preston approached them both. Sterling, I owe you an apology. 2 years ago, I thought you were destroying my family. I was wrong. You saved my daughter. You helped her become someone remarkable. Thank you. She saved herself, sir. I just didn't get in her way. Will you both come to dinner sometime? I'd like to try again, to build a relationship with the people you've become, instead of mourning who you used to be. Willa looked at Sterling, who nodded. We'd like that, Dad. But on our terms, in our world, not yours. Deal. I'll even take the subway. That'll be a first. Jet laughed. The evening ended with Willa and Sterling alone on the hotel terrace where they'd talked the night of the gala. I can't believe you proposed where you exposed my family. It felt right. That night was the beginning of us. Everything we've become started here. I hired you as a joke, as a prop to win a bet. That's the worst possible foundation for a relationship. Maybe, or maybe it's proof that even terrible beginnings can lead somewhere beautiful. Willa, you were a different person 2 years ago. So was I. We've both grown. That's what matters. I love you. I love the life we've built. I love that we're doing something meaningful together. Sterling, I've never been happier. Me neither. And Willa, that birthday card you left at my place last month, the one with the watercolor flowers, what about it? It reminded me that small gestures matter, that caring about people, really caring, changes things. You taught me that. Thank you. They kissed. On the terrace, 2 people who'd started as joke and prop, who'd navigated privilege and prejudice, who'd built something real from the wreckage of assumptions. A black investigative journalist and a former heiress, proving that love could transcend every category, every barrier, every expectation. And their story was just beginning. 5 years after the gala, Sterling and Willa stood in the offices of the Equity Project, now a thriving nonprofit with offices in 5 cities, employing 30 people, and having secured meaningful reforms in multiple industries. They'd been married 3 years, and their partnership had only strengthened. Sterling continued investigative journalism while directing the nonprofit's research. Willa managed operations and had become a sought-after speaker on privilege, class, and social justice. We've been invited to speak at Yale, Sterling told her one morning, both of us, about our work and our relationship. Yale? Your alma mater? That's significant. They want to talk about how unlikely partnerships can create change. about love across class and racial lines, about you unlearning privilege. Think you're up for it? With you, always. Their relationship had weathered storms that would have destroyed weaker couples. The racism, constant, exhausting, sometimes violent. People who couldn't comprehend a black man and white woman building something together without one using the other. The class judgment, accusations that Sterling had married up, or that Willa was slumming. We still get hate mail, Willa told their friend Quinn during a coffee date. People saying Sterling's using me for my family connections, even though I haven't had family money in 5 years. Or saying I'm performing wokeness by being with a black man. How do you deal with it? By focusing on what's real. Our work, our relationship, our impact. Sterling and I have helped thousands of workers get fair wages and benefits. We've exposed corporate corruption that led to criminal charges. That's real. Random strangers' opinions aren't. Preston had slowly rebuilt his relationship with Willa, attending their wedding and regularly visiting. Ashton Pharmaceuticals, under new leadership including Jet, had become a model for ethical corporate practices. You were right, Preston told Willa during a family dinner. About everything. I was so focused on profits that I forgot people. It took losing you to remember what matters. You didn't lose me, Dad. I'm right here. Just different than you expected. Better than I expected. Willa, I'm proud of you. Of who you've become. I should say that more. It means a lot. But Dad, I need you to understand. I can't come back to the company. My work with Sterling, it's where I belong. I'm sorry if that disappoints you. It doesn't disappoint me. It inspires me. You've built something meaningful from nothing. That's more valuable than inheriting a company. Elliot, Willa, and Sterling's 3-year-old son ran into the room, disrupting the serious conversation with toddler chaos. He was beautiful. Light brown skin, his father's eyes, his mother's smile, and completely unaware that his existence challenged people's categories. Mama Dada Park. In a bit, buddy, Sterling said, scooping him up. Uncle Jet's here. Say hi to Uncle Jet. Watching Elliot interact with family, Willa felt overwhelming gratitude. She'd given up wealth and social standing, faced judgment and loss. But in return, she'd gained authenticity, purpose, love that wasn't transactional. No regrets? Sterling asked later, reading her expression. None. 5 years ago, I hired a janitor as a joke. That janitor turned out to be the most remarkable person I've ever met. He showed me who I could become. How is that anything but a gift? That janitor thought you were a spoiled brat. He was right, but also wrong. You had potential he didn't initially see. We've both grown. That's the point. Sterling, what we've built, our marriage, our nonprofit, our family, it's proof that people can change, that love can transcend category, that even the worst beginnings can lead somewhere beautiful. Speaking of beautiful beginnings, want to tell them? Sterling nodded toward their families, gathered in celebration. You tell them. Sterling stood, getting everyone's attention. We have news. Willa's pregnant. Baby number 2 arriving next spring. The room erupted in celebration. Preston hugged Willa, tears in his eyes. Another grandchild. Willa, I'm so happy for you. Thanks, Dad. And Dad? This one's middle name will be Preston, after you, if that's okay. Preston couldn't speak, just held his daughter while crying. 5 years ago, he'd disowned her. Now, she was naming her child after him. Redemption was possible after all. That evening, after everyone left, Sterling and Willa sat with Elliot between them, reading bedtime stories. Dada, tell story about when you met Mama. Well, buddy, Mama hired Daddy to go to a fancy party. She thought Daddy was just a janitor. Which you were, Willa interjected. Which I was. But I was also other things. And at that party, Daddy said some things that made a lot of rich people very uncomfortable, including Mama's family. Why? Because sometimes we need to be uncomfortable to grow. And Mama, she grew. She became someone amazing. The most amazing person Daddy knows. Besides me, Elliot insisted. Obviously besides you, buddy. After Elliot slept, Willa and Sterling stayed up talking, as they often did, processing their journey. Do you ever think about that night? Willa asked. The gala? How we almost didn't happen because I was using you as a prop. All the time. That night changed everything. For better and worse. The exposure, the backlash, your family's reaction. It was brutal. But Willa, it was also necessary. We needed that catalyst. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I've apologized before. But I need you to know I still think about it. How cruel I was. How I reduced you to a joke. And I forgave you. Years ago. Willa, We were different people then. You've spent 5 years proving you're not that person anymore. At some point, you have to forgive yourself too. I'm trying. It's just knowing I was capable of that callousness. It haunts me. Good. It should. Not to torture you, but to keep you honest. That memory of who you were keeps you grounded in who you want to be. That's valuable. They sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd traveled impossible distances to find each other. A black journalist who'd gone undercover to expose corporate corruption. A white heiress who'd used him as a joke and ended up losing everything to gain authenticity. Their story was unconventional, messy, marked by privilege and prejudice and painful growth, but it was also real. Proof that people could change, that love could transcend every barrier, that even the worst beginnings could lead to beautiful endings. The heiress had paid a janitor to be her date as a joke. His voice had left billionaires speechless, and in the aftermath of that night, they'd both found something neither had been looking for. Genuine connection, purpose, love that wasn't transactional. 5 years later, they were still finding it, still growing, still proving that when you're brave enough to see clearly and honest enough to change, anything becomes possible, including happily ever after.